Alright, welcome to the first official episode of Undress and Onset with me, Texas Phoenix. What's up, y'all? So, this episode is actually going to not be on the first episode of the Undress podcast. I'm going to do things a little bit differently, okay? Because I feel like since what the hell is wrong with me? I found them through Anna Nicole, that my first episode should be obviously by Anna Nicole. So, and since I found this recipe up in this book that I bought, I made this recipe. I put pictures of it on Instagram. Here it is right here. Okay, first of all, I didn't have all the ingredients for the recipe because I feel like some of these ingredients you need to buy at like a specialty grocery store. I'm not even gonna try to pronounce this word that starts with a A. I'm gonna spell it. It's hot. AJVAR. But I Googled it. And it's like a red pepper, eggplant, spread paste kind of thing. Um, Conveniently for me in my life, there was like some weird ass sandwich that had come on like Instagram or whatever, and it required like this weird ass red pepper eggplant spread thing that they sell at Trader Joe's. So also this hot pepper paste that it requires didn't have that. Don't even know what that is. Um, they don't have it at Target. They don't have it at HEB. Um, Again, probably a specialty grocery store. There's hair in my mouth. Lord have mercy. Of course, while I'm recording this, there will be some unruly hair in my mouth. Ugh. Anyways, as we continue. So, the hot pepper paste didn't have that. So we just substituted those things for the Trader Joe's items. Trader Joe's little spread container thing that I have. We will insert picture here. Hopefully, my cameraman person that I will eventually pay, aka my child, will put this in there. But if not, whatever. We'll tag it in the bottom in the description or something for the Trader Joe's substitute, because I don't know where you find these specialty items. Google them. Buy the book and Google them, like I did. I don't even know where to find them where I live, so I can't help you. Anyways, so moving on. So I started cooking this. Frying. I probably put a little too much olive oil also because I measured with my heart. The ancestors told me probably to put, when I saw the amount, probably a little too much. But it's alright. We just. And I used also bison meat instead of ground beef because I didn't have ground beef on hand. I had bison. Don't ask me why. Because it's on at Costco. That's why. It's fairly cheap. Anyways, moving on. So cook that together, and then we put the tomato sauce, the tomato paste, the Costco things, and then I wish I could have filmed how I put the garlic in because that was awesome. Also, I've also put the oregano and thyme while I was cooking the meat because I just don't like the smell of raw. The bison didn't smell as bad as beef does. I will say that. And that's all I have to say about that. Bison actually doesn't smell that bad. I like gamey meat. That's just what I grew up on. Okay, I grew up. My dad killed deer all the time. I guess I shouldn't be saying that. Well, you know what? Whatever. What's the statute of limitations on those things? I don't know. I should know because I work in the legal field, but I don't. It's like game warden stuff. Anyways, so I made stuff and I put that, and I also didn't have enough curry powder, so I put chili flakes and we didn't. Edward wanted fucking fettuccine instead of spaghetti, so whatever. He loved it. He was shoving it in his mouth, and I'm gonna try it right now. Oh, this is fire. Okay, buy the book so y'all can get the recipe. Because I didn't tell y'all the whole recipe. I mean, you're missing ingredients and steps and steps. Because now I know why he's like fighting me for the whole pan of pasta, pot pan. Yeah. I mean, the same way, shoveling it into my mouth. Okay. I also don't want to give away all of my secrets to the changes that I did. Because now I made the recipe my own, so yeah, now it's my own. And also, I don't use measurements. You know, I measure until the ancestors told me to stop. So, I really think it's funny that I have never met, or had never met, Paul or Patrick. And we both say similar things, not the same thing, similar things about how Anna was the Marilyn Monroe. He says the Marilyn Monroe of our time, and I say the Marilyn Monroe of my generation. Because I think like the new kid would say like Kim Kardashian is the Marilyn Monroe of like their generation. Maybe I put too much chili peppers. I feel like I want some of these. Like waft it back in. So I think that's funny, because let's think about this. So Marilyn Monroe was Marilyn Monroe, and then we came along Anna Nicole, and then Anna Nicole was also like the paparazzi queen. And if we can think of anybody who is a paparazzi queen, that's Kim K. Let's not pretend that's not how she got her career. Let's not make excuses. I know some of y'all will say, "Oh, it was the sex tape." Okay, partially. Let's say partially, but let's not say that this girl was not in like all the press like back in the day. Like she was a girl. She was the it girl. Her in Paris. It was Paris, then her. So I'm just saying, without Anna, there would be no Paris. There would be no Kim K. So I'm saying. Tell me if I'm wrong. If you think that I'm wrong, let me know if I'm confident. If you think that you agree with me, also, like this video. Isn't that how this works on YouTube? I don't know. I mean, I'm new to this. I'm also really bad at this. So I have my little notes right here that I'm like looking at. So if you want to know why I'm looking down, it's because I'm like looking at my little notes, trying to like reference like my train of thought. Because I'm very like scatterbrained all the time. So I don't know where I'm going sometimes. So, anyway, like I said, that's what we were talking about. So now I want to talk about the podcast. And I also want to talk about the podcast. So we're talking about the podcast. We're talking about two podcasts in one, this episode. We're going to talk about the podcast that they do with the directors on the, oh God, what is it called? You Don't Know Me. I'm so annoyed with this title because I've watched a documentary, or can you call it a I don't even know if you can call it a documentary. What even is so? We're gonna talk about that. I guess let's get into that first. While I'm on it, while I'm already on it. So, well, what was I saying? God, I've already lost. See how scatterbrained I am. Okay. I was trying to talk about. Oh. I hate that I am so scatterbrained. That's a very annoying trait of mine. So, we're talking about two podcasts. We're talking about the Momo podcast, which is a bodyguard, and we're talking about these director people. Ursula. I don't remember her name because it's a Disney name. It's terrible. And whatever the other girl's name was. I'm so sorry. I apologize. It's really bad on my part. I should have put that in my notes, but I didn't because I'm a terrible person. So that's bad on my part. But anyways, I digress. We're going to talk about this documentary where we're going to dissect these podcasts. I love the podcast. I got really excited for the documentary, watching the podcast, and I really expected a lot of the the interview that I heard, or at least was expecting to hear in the documentary. But I got all these little tidbits, but the tidbits I got were the same tidbits that were in the documentary. And instead, I got no extra tidbits. So, let's get into that part. Let me get to my notes. Not lose track of my little scattered, shiny scroll brain. So, first of all, to talk about Mo. He said that there was a whole day that they filmed in his truck. What the hell? How did they put in none of that? No, the only thing I can think that maybe the audio was bad. But do we not have like technology at this point in time to like fix that shit? No? Okay. So I would like to know what was talked about in the truck. Mo, do a documentary, do a YouTube video about what's talked about in the truck. Second of all, literally this is like a 2 hour and it's like a 2 hour. It's less, not even 2 hours. It's less than 2 hours. And in the hour 10 minute mark, that's when Paul and Patrick are introduced. Is that what we're doing here? And then I feel like the stories that were included from, I don't know, nobody has disclosed how long they videoed for. I feel like it was at the very least a day for both of them. So let's say 12 and 12, 6 and 6, whatever. 6 hours is what I'm talking about, hour time. That's all we get. Not even a minute before they introduced the death of R.I.P. Daniel. And I have a lot of like love for Daniel because you don't understand. He was born in '86. I was born in '88, and the way Anna says that she idolized like Marilyn Monroe to be her mother, dude, I analyze freaking Anna Nicole to be my mom because we'll get into that a little bit later. Okay, we can get into it. Like, I know people say that what she said about her mom isn't true or that her mom wasn't abusive with her. Look, I actually know some people, my mom and my dad were friends with family members, or not family members, but like very close friends that were quasi family members or whatever. You know, I saw this man as a second dad, honestly. And I remember all the time, this dude, I'm not gonna say his name, just to respect like his family and stuff like that, and I don't want them to get involved in like internet drama, because we all know how that can be. But I know that he used to always like be like, hey, anytime Anna Nicole was on TV, he'd be like, oh, I can go to her mom's house, like I know her mom, she'll cook me whatever she wants or whatever I want, da 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 da, blah blah blah. Like he used to always say that, and we would just be like, okay, dude, whatever, blah blah blah. Cause like you don't believe somebody who says that. Like, do you really believe some like friend of yours that like says, oh, I know some famous person? No, you don't believe that. And so it was so weird because, oh God, now I'm like going on a weird ass fucking tangent. But this is like the weird part of it for me because this friend of ours, or this very very close friend, family friend, he would say all that. We didn't believe him. And then we'll have to circle back. Let me circle back to this. So Paul and Patrick are introduced 1 minute or 1 hour 10 minutes into this documentary, and I love that they're in their corresponding colors. Let me just say that. I just love that that's like a vibe for them, like, or like a statement thing for them. Oh, God, so cool. So I just think that it's like they had so much more to say, and so literally then we fast forward to like when Daniel dies, and like before that we got like a minute. I don't even think it was a minute of what they had to say, and I don't think that was enough time. I really don't think that doesn't fit. Also, first of all, let's go back a little bit. This freaking this freaking podcast, this podcast is gonna mention it. This documentary didn't even mention Gigi's. First of all, Gigi's is where she met Howard Marshall. Okay, they mentioned executive suites. I asked a friend of mine. I'm not gonna give her name out to respect her privacy. If she gives me permission, then we'll maybe invite her on and she can talk about it. But I asked her about it just because. Okay, so I was also in the scene. And by the scene, I mean strip club scene, okay? In Houston, I'm an H-Town girl. Lord have mercy. And so I also have a friend, a little bit older than me. She we were all in the same circle around the same time, okay? But it was just like kind of like declining down, like, it was like Anna Nicole and then my friend and then me. And then it was like kind of like the same, like, but it was always at the end of like each of our turns. So like Anna Nicole and then my friend and then me. But like always entering in at the same time one person was leaving. So that's how that worked. So we all kind of knew about each other's stories, like, infamously wise. I'm not that I'm infamous or anything like that. But there were like things like, like she made a big, story for herself or like a big name for herself. So like we all knew like she had met this guy, she had like, got out of the game, blah blah blah. Like, that was like a thing. Like we talked about that for obviously a very long time if I was hearing about it. So like I idolized her. I thought like, shit, that was gonna be my life at one point in time. Hopefully not to, I don't know. I don't want to say anything that's like uncouth or whatever, but it just it was infamy, I guess, to be like from Houston and to know these things and to hear things that are other people are saying that aren't true or things that are people are saying to benefit themselves when somebody is not around to contradict those statements, I think is, you know, fucked up. To say the least. It's fucked up. Like I don't know how else to fucking to say it, you know what I mean? Like a person who has any qualm of insecurity. I don't know. I have insecurity sometimes. So if I always put myself, when I hear stories about Hannah, like I'm always like, well, if I was in her position, like I don't know, I probably would have done the same thing. Cause like I'm telling you, bro, the way she was like, I want Megan to be my mom, bro. Same shit. I wanted fucking Anna to be my mom. Cause I totally felt like I was not part of my family. Anyways, that's like my own bullshit. We're not gonna talk about that. So, continuing it on, I was so hopeful for this damn documentary, but then I saw it, and first of all, the RuPaul shit, iconic. So I love RuPaul. Okay, so, but Rusty, oh god, the statements from Rusty, I just the way he was like saying how like, oh, we know. He was just like, oh, well, he gave her this amount of money. The motherfucker didn't know shit. He didn't know shit. The glutton statement, I just was like, bro, how are you gonna call him a fire glutton? Like you, I don't like anything that he said. As an attorney, he needs to be like, I don't know, he needs to hold himself in better conduct. I just was like completely disappointed with him as a legal professional. Like no, I expect better from somebody who's doing a fucking documentary. Like Jesus Christ. I don't know. I don't know what to say about those things. Like, you shouldn't say those things about a person. Like, to be quite honest, like, glutton. Who are you? Who are you? That's like a seven deadly sin type of statement. Like, you're just gonna be like, oh, she's a glutton. Like, bro, dude. And then they included Howard Stern also. Like, they included that Howard Stern. Fucking, oh god, I wanted to like throw up. Honestly, I was just like, how are you gonna include Howard Stern? In the podcast, they made it seem like they were trying to like, they titled it fucking "You Don't Know Me," but they had so many things that were like just in line with the fucking media. So it was like, what part of the you don't? Where is the you don't know me part? The you don't know me is this random girl. Oh, let's talk about the let's talk about the girl that they interviewed for like 90% of the of the fucking documentary. Who is this chick? Who is this chick? Honestly, I might be like I was part of their lives. Like I was there. Who is she? But honestly, now Anna Nicole is bisexual. Now, I'm not saying that. No, I'm not friend probably because I'm also bisexual. But anyways, for real though, let's rewind to every other documentary that has been done. This is the one girl who comes out of the woodwork who's like, yeah, I was her bisexual lover. I mean, I'm not saying that it didn't happen. It probably did. Honestly, it probably did. I'm not saying that it didn't. It probably did. But still. I feel like this documentary honestly like centered around this entire girl's like timeline of Anna Nicole's life. It didn't. I'm so disappointed in this fucking documentary. I had such high hopes, and they were just completely ruined. Completely ruined. Like honestly. Okay. So. Also, this assistant that was worried about Daniel, who did you tell? Did you tell anybody about that part? Okay. But let me get to the part that's like, ties me to Anna Nicole. So, like I said, my friend that was, I mean, I call him my friend. He was my friend in the later years of his life, the early years of my life. But, God, this is such a fucking weird thing. This dude was completely insane, I think, as he got older. Growing up, he was my dad. I knew him as my dad's friend, but apparently he went to school with my mom, like high school with my mom, and that's how he knew my dad. So, longtime friend. He would always be like, "Bro, not bro, that's me." He would always see Anna Nicole on TV. When he saw Anna Nicole on TV, he'd be like, "I can go to her mom's house. She can do whatever she wants." Da, 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 blah blah. They did not always live in Mejia, by the way. They lived in Mejia, I guess, when she was fucking born. Or maybe when she went to high school. But they later on moved to New Caney. Maybe even into Houston. New Caney is very, very close to Houston. So, this is how I know these things. Also, Gigi's doesn't exist anymore, so don't go try to look for it. They already tore it down. It's very sad. We all cried about it. No, we didn't cry about it. I'm just playing. Anyways, so she did probably grow up in Mejia, but they eventually moved to New Caney. My friend, who I will not reveal his name, he had a sister. His sister was like best friends with Anna Nicole's mom. When Anna Nicole started working in the clubs, and this is well known in H-Town, okay? Not like by random people, okay? You have to go and you have to find, like, at this point, you would have to find old school motherfuckers, and I don't know if you can find the motherfuckers. And I'm like, I'm the youngest of the oldest schoolist. But anybody who knows can confirm if maybe I can convince my friend. I'm not gonna say that I can convince her, but maybe if she is willing, and if she knows, she might not know because not everybody knows. But the people who were like in there, like in the clubs, like you had to have been like in the clubs, like and work in the clubs. So she didn't really work in the clubs like that. She kind of worked in the clubs, but kind of like not in the clubs. It's like a thing. Anyways, that's not the point. The point is, it was well known that she would get dragged out of the club. I don't know who this little weird girl is that was like, oh, she probably did get saved from her mom. You know what? Her mom didn't work for the police, and so she probably did get saved on a couple times. But her mom, as the police, and my homeboys, my mom, my dad, homeboys, sister, aka Anna Nicole's mama's BFF, they would drag her out of clubs. They would drag her out of clubs. I feel like that was a long roundabout way to get that. See, that's how ADHD works. Anyways, so that's how that worked. And they would drag her out of the clubs, and so we all knew about it. So, yeah. I don't know why people were trying to act like her mama wasn't violent. Her mama was violent. Okay, so let's fast forward to. I've already done laughed my whole train of thing. Anyways, I'm trying to tell you how I know Virgie. Okay, so anyways, that's also how my friend knew Virgie. So, cause his sister they was BFFs, his sister and whatever. So, Anna Nicole passes away after her son passes away. Right, poor little Daniel. I'm sorry, I said that very disingenuously. There's a hot minute. Poor Daniel. So he passes away. And then, obviously, the media is losing their shit. They're losing their shit because also they don't know who Anna Nicole's little girl's baby daddy is. So they're losing their shit. Have some water to regain my thoughts. And I am pregnant. It is 2007, February. Anna Nicole passes away. She's in Florida. The media loses their shit. It's a circus. Media's losing their shit. They're having a custody battle. It's a baby daddy warfare. Blah, blah, blah. So I have been like glued to the TV, can't move. I'm just like changing channels, just like watching all the shit. Because I've been since Anna Nicole ever since the beginning. And fast forward to June. Well, fast forward to the end of May, I guess. Let's rewind a little bit. Let's rewind like a couple days. I had a phone call from my grandfather. He's like, hey, do you know where your mom is? I'm like, no, I don't know who my mom is. I haven't talked to her in I don't even know how long. He's like, oh, I didn't talk to her. I'm like, what's going on? He's like, I don't want to tell you because you're pregnant. You're going to get upset. I was like, you can't tell a pregnant person this. Like, this conversation is burning to my brain. I'll never forget it. He was like, okay, sit down. Because immediately when he said that, I got almost thinking something happened to my mom. Something happened to my mom. He's like, no, sit down and I'll tell you. And I'm like, okay. We had just moved into this apartment. We had camping chairs. So I sit down in some little, like, folding camping chair. Sit in that. I'm like, okay, I'm sitting down. He's like, they shot John in the chest. I'm like, what? John was supposed to say his name. Fuck. Well, John's very gender. And I'm like, no. Not possible. Let me tell you why this is not possible in my mind. Okay, let's go back. In my brain, let's rewind a couple months. So a couple months ago, don't ask me which month. You would have to like Google this man's funeral. We're at another funeral. I know this is terrible. And this is already starting out great. And so There's some people, they're inebriated, they need to leave, they don't want to leave. There's the daughter of the deceased who's not coherent as well. I don't really recall what caused my friend and his girlfriend at the time to get engaged in the argument, but they were engaged. And so, fast forward, and I'm standing next to this pickup truck, next to my friend. I'm very pregnant. By the way, this is the same year, so I'm very pregnant. Okay, this is, I don't know, April, May ish time. So I'm yeah, very, very pregnant girl. And all I remember is, they said some words, and this dude pulls out a gun. My friend literally grabbed the gun out of his hand and just chunked it to the side like it was like a toy. I was like, it's a firearm. And then try to physically like remove this man from his pickup truck. Had that person not had his seatbelt on, I don't know. But the fact that seatbelt saved lives, yeah, bro, wear your seatbelt all the time. Because if you're starting fights with a giant person, my friend was really big, 6 foot tall, easily. I think he was like 6'2", easily 6'2". Anyways, and in Texas we call it like country corn fed. He's one of them country corn fed boys, so solid, like massive. Like you don't wanna. He could have removed him had he not had that seatbelt on. I'm 1,000% sure. So, when Grandpa called me and told me that somebody had shot him in the chest, I was like, seems unlikely. But that's actually what happened. And then, so Anna Nicole died. This is June. This is like the early days of June. And so I had seen all of those news things, blah, blah, and the custody things. So her mom's image had been like burned into my brain, like seared in good. And I'm talking as you do at a funeral with somebody else, and I'm like, da, 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 and I see her. Didn't know it was her at the time. But like catty corner, like diagonal this way. So I tell like the lady I'm talking to, I'm like, hey girl, like, who is that lady over there? And she's like, girl, that's Virgie. That's Anna Nicole mom. I'm like, oh, sure enough. It sure is. So fast forward some hours later, and I'm sitting in like the viewing room or whatever where my friend is, and like I'm waiting on my mom to go so we can leave. And I'm sitting there with my little big pregnant self, and she comes over and she's like, "Oh hi, what are you having?" And so I stand up, talk to her, and she touches my belly, and I'm like, "Oh, I'm having a little boy." She's like, "Oh boy, they're so much easier." Da da da. And I was just like, what? And so then I go home, right? Just thinking like normal interaction. I'm not gonna act like anything weird happened, right? I'm not gonna like fangirl out. And then I start having like some really severe contractions. So much so that I call the hospital and I'm like, hey, so I'm feeling this way and that way, and what should I do? And they're like, come to the hospital right now. You're probably in labor. And I'm like, oh shit, what the fuck? So, go to the hospital. No, Braxton Hicks. Severe Braxton Hicks. I don't even know is that like real terminology? So that happens. And I'm just like, wow. Like, what do you say when that happens? And so, call my mom. Mom was like, oh, she gave you ojo because she's like missing her grandchildren. And I thought about it and I was like, I don't know, I guess it's true. Like, her grandson passed away. She can't see her granddaughter. Like, because homeboy didn't let her see her grandma. Like, that's pretty jacked up. Like, I don't know. Maybe they saw each other later. I hope they did. But if not, that's pretty jacked up. Anyways, so back to the documentary. I know my whole Anna Nicole story is pretty like I don't know. Is it irritating? It's something to tell. It's just something to say. Like I met Anna Nicole's mom. She sent me the Braxton Hicks contractions. It's a thing, I guess. She gave me the evil eye according to my birth giver. That's what I call her. We'll talk about that later. So I only have like a couple complaints about this documentary. The podcast is great. I think that Paul and Patrick did a great job promoting it, but I feel like what was promoted, I don't know, like the directors, the creators, I don't know, what do you call these people? Probably should have wrote that down in my notes. They they made it seem like it was something that it wasn't. You know what I mean? Like they made it seem like it wasn't gonna be like the media scandal, and I feel like a lot of it was like the media scandal. There wasn't. They fed into it, and then they didn't clarify it. Like the way they talked about it on the podcast is like, oh, we found all these things, and they were just lies. And so I thought that they were gonna be like able to tell us how they figured out that those things were lies, but instead, that's not what we got. So I don't know. I was kind of disappointed in that, and that's how I feel about it. So we'll see. And then as far as Mo, Mo, I hope you're not getting paid for all these things because like I feel like you're on a lot of documentaries, and so I don't know. I guess if you have to capitalize on it, capitalize on it. I mean, who am I to judge? I mean, fuck it. I'm over here making a podcast about it, so I'm capitalizing on it too. So I guess I should shut the fuck up. Okay, all right. That's it. That's all I have to say. Good night. Thank you for coming to Undressed and on Set. All right. Just me and my sports problems being ridiculous. All right. Good night. Have a good night, guys. Good night, good morning, wherever you are, whatever you're doing. Thank you for watching. Thank you for tuning in. Like, comment, subscribe. And if you disagree with me, let's find the comments. I'm just playing. Let's not find the comments. I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. I really don't have the time.